They're calling it the worst result they've ever seen from an AI, worse than GPT-2, and then it's giving me justified, here's what went wrong. I love it. May I have a second chance? Today we're going to be taking a look at two new stealth models that have been released on OpenRouter. While traditionally I don't always like to test stealth models on the channel, these seem rather interesting, and because there are perhaps some rumors that one of these may be a new DeepSeek model, I figured that it is pertinent for myself to somewhat cash in on the hype of including DeepSeek in the title for this video, but also it can be kind of fun to test these in advance and try to guess what they are, just based off of some of the stylistic elements that perhaps come from their generated responses. So for today's video, we're going to be taking a look at these two stealth models, which we can now introduce by their names, Hunter Alpha as well as Healer Alpha. To begin with the smallest of the two, we have here Healer Alpha, which is a frontier omnimodal model with vision, hearing, reasoning, and action capabilities. That is very interesting because this is almost designed, at least the way it sounds being presented here, to be something that could run on a device and act almost as like a little assistant that you carry with you. It could look at things, it can chat with you. This just sounds like a model specifically designed to almost emulate that device from that movie Her. Make of that what you will. I don't know that I would guess these models are related in terms of being from the same provider. I'm happy to eat my words on that, but there have been rumors that OpenAI may be doing like a GPT-5o model, which may have some of these capabilities. I have zero background knowledge about that, so that is completely an unfounded guess based off of just seeing what this has. But regardless of where it's from, that is a really cool set of features to have, so I will be excited to test this. Now, because of the way we're going to be testing this through OpenRouter, we're probably just going to be doing more chat and like code and roleplay based tests with it, and less about like being able to speak to it. Regardless though, this is something that is very interesting to keep an eye on and could be a pretty cool release, whatever it does happen to be. Next up, we see this Hunter Alpha model, which is a 1 trillion parameter model with a 1 million token context window. Now, something interesting here that could perhaps give us some insight into what this is, although now as I say that I become more confused. It specifically mentions being well suited for OpenClaw, which in some ways would make you think, oh, maybe it's like a Kimi model or something, as they've been doing a lot with like Claw stuff. I have no idea what this model is. It could be a DeepSeek. I don't know that it's a DeepSeek, but whatever this happens to be, a 1 trillion parameter model with a 1 million token context length is pretty exciting, especially when it has frontier intelligence and is built for agentic use. So it's going to be exciting to test this. So for both of these, when we do run these tests, I have gone into the settings and just set the reasoning mode to the highest possible one. I don't know specifically what effect, if any, that will make for this model because we don't really know what it is or where it comes from, if it has those specific options or if it has a static mode for reasoning, but I figure I'll just try to get max performance out of them regardless. And what we can see right here is a fairly verbose reasoning chain, at least, and I've seen folks talk about how this could even be something giving folks insight into what the potential origins of this model could be, being that a lot of closed source frontier labs tend to hide the reasoning chain behind some simplified explanation or description of what the model's doing to prevent things like distillation attacks. So this is a very thorough chain of thought. So Hunter Alpha has finished generating the browser OS script, and I have not yet looked at it. I find the behavior here to be kind of odd. It had a reasoning chain, which was fairly intricate. We can see it did put out a bunch of paragraphs and things like that. Following that, the reasoning finished, and it began to generate the code as we would normally see. Now, where it began to get a little weird is following the generation of this code, which happened after the reasoning was finished. It went ahead and tried to check it over then and was like, hey, I found some things I want to change, like the font and stuff like that. Then it pasted the snippet of how it wanted to change the font, and then it went and regenerated the entire script again, which then led it to find a typo in the second generation of the script and be like, okay, there's a typo, let me fix this, and then it generated it for a third time. So here is the culmination of the 3 separate attempts at writing this code, which all happened from within the same response. So this is the first try it had to generate this OS. I will say initially on first glance, this is pretty aesthetically pleasing as we see. It does have particle effects in the background, and as a matter of fact, one of them is actually dragging alongside the cursor, so the effects here are quite nice. I do personally like this background gradient. It has a clock and a date in the top menu bar. Interesting to see. This is the second time in the span of like a very short amount of time that I've seen these now in a top menu bar style, and the dock is very Mac OS style. There's no right click, but again, I don't specifically ask it to have one. Let's just run through some of these applications. Okay, the aesthetic and UI here is quite nice looking. Let's do Particle Dreams. This looks really good. Created by engineers passionate about AGI. Now, the reason that stuck out to me is because on the DeepSeek page, it doesn't seem visible right now, but it's something I immediately thought of. They say DeepSeek unravel the mystery of AGI with curiosity. So it's just interesting to see it so prominently listed in this. I've not specifically ever seen AGI mentioned in a result such as this. So interesting to see. We can full screen, we can unfull screen, we can minimize, and it does actually show that that app is still open as denoted by the little blue icon under it in the taskbar. We also have a particle density setting as well. I don't know that I'm noticing changes to that, but perhaps retroactively we may notice something. Continuing through looking at this, let's just take a look at our terminal. Okay, I do like the aesthetic here and the way it actually tells us, like Hunter Alpha OS version 1, type help for commands. Guessed. Now this is one that I've not ever seen before. Fortune. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Do you think there's more than one? In difficulty lies opportunity. Okay, I was going to just keep going until we found a duplicate. I've actually zoomed in a bit just because the UI was so crisp, could be said. Notes app. Very good. Save to browser. Note saved, and it would probably just save it in the browser storage, but that's good to see regardless of that. Next up, we'll just go through them. All right, good. It did not automatically begin the game when I opened it. It is waiting for me to initiate the beginning of the snake. Oh, this is a nice one. I like it. I do like the aesthetic of this. Now, obviously, that's a very subjective take, but I have to say overall the UI elements and everything like that are very cleanly drawn. Everything does look rather crisp. Oh, that was well done, and I do like the game over screen, the way that it still actually shows you how you failed. It just kind of puts a mask overlay over it. Nice to see. Memory match. Uh-oh. Realistically, these should be spread out across like equal distance from the length of this window. The fact that they're not makes this pretty much unplayable, but we can at least see the attempt was made to attempt a memory game. So that's not necessarily a real big issue. It just does make it unplayable though. Okay, custom accent color. Ooh, I like Deep Ocean. Arctic Night is very pretty. That does seemingly reminisce one of the Aurora Borealis, if you will. We have a cotton candy background. Some of these backgrounds do look very GPT-like, but I'm not going to, based off of like a gradient, be like, this is an OpenAI model because their gradients look the same. Though one could perhaps make that argument that that would be a prudent thing to do. Does the custom accent color actually change? It affected the gradient in the background. That's cool. I was expecting to have it affect the neon blue, but it didn't. We have a dedicated clock application, and it's analog. I like that. I'm a big fan of analog clocks. I just find that they make things like calmer. Digital clocks, you always know, like it's the precise minute. This one, it's more like general, like, oh, it's around that time. It just lives life at a slower and calmer pace, which I do find quite nice. Finally, the thing we have here is Particle Dreams, which is just it reopens the settings, and that is our special feature. I do find it a little frustrating that this looks like it included a paint app, but it's just the wallpaper thing. So overall, this was a really nice result. Next up, we'll try Healer Alpha, which is of course the smaller of the two stealth models here. This is the Multimodal model. This has a significantly shorter chain of thought, but I want to try to avoid directly comparing the two of them head to head because these are probably totally different. I don't know. I can't definitively say but I want to judge them individually. So Healer Alpha has completed the browser OS test, and I wanted to see if it had the same behavior as the larger model, where it generated the script, then kind of retroactively looked it over and proceeded to make changes all outside of the specific reasoning trace. That did not happen. It just did it in one try. So let's take a peek. Very interesting. I don't know why I said that. I guess I just like these results. There is no right click. I'm just trying to judge if the aesthetic seems to translate over, because part of me is wondering if these are both, like, I don't know, DeepSeek models. Again, I have no idea. We do have a rather modern take on the clock as well as the date, where it's just in the top right, and to be honest with you, I kind of like that. I'm okay with that. I wouldn't want it on my main system because it takes up too much screen real estate, but for this, it's presented it nicely. This does have the same sort of crispness to it that we saw with the previous result. Let's just start with the start menu, get it, subscribe. Notepad. Okay, so that has remained from some. Don't pay too much mind to that. It's just weird. We see that the UI controls are different. If we minimize it, it does stay in the taskbar and does allow us to open it back up. And the X also does look right, but it does not have the little round, like, Mac OS style buttons. So that's cool to see. It's nice to have some more retro Windows style. Calculator. The other one didn't have a calculator. Now, I don't have the ability to resize this, which is somewhat of a problem in terms of that. I'm going to say that, whoops, that's not what I meant to do. The dragging movement is very weird, but I'm okay with it. We'll full screen this. We'll do 96 times 5, 480, divided by 680. All right. Next up, we have our wallpaper changing. Cyberpunk. Wonderful. Minimal and nature. Okay, so these don't quite work, but we can see it at least did attempt to put vastly different aesthetics choices for our wallpaper. I would have really liked to have seen the Cyberpunk one, but I suppose, that is what we get when we're testing stealth models. Next up, let's take a peek at, of course, the classic Snake game. And this is exactly the type of frustrating thing that gets me. Is one, it starts immediately when you open it. Did the snake speed up when I got it food? Now, the bigger issue here is that because the screen is not properly sized to show this UI element, without a scroll bar, moving the up and down arrows to control the snake also moves the screen up and down, or the window that is displaying said snake game, which does add a level of complexity, which does frustrate Bijan. Oh yeah, Turbo Snake mode. Next up, we have tic-tac-toe. Now, I've seen systems lately doing this where you can actually play against an AI. I like seeing that, so I'll do that. The AI won. Very nice. It's a draw. Good, and I did want to check to see if it actually did properly register that. Nicely done. Next up, our terminal. Okay, definitely kind of simple. Healer. I like that better than guest. Finally, our special command, Healer Alpha. I don't know what this is going to do, but I'm quite excited to find out. Special mode. Welcome to the special mode. You've discovered a hidden feature. This OS was created by Healer Alpha. Enjoy exploring the browser desktop. Oh, okay, so the special feature is just a little Easter egg that tells us this and gives us a nice little stylized Healer Alpha special mode window. Finally, we have our wallpaper, which we did already take a peek at, and then the last thing here is the Healer OS About. A browser-based desktop OS created by Healer Alpha, full-featured desktop environment. Version 1 created with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Double-click desktop icons are used to start menu to open apps. Not bad. Next up, we'll try our static subway scene test just to see how well these can artistically render a beautiful static subway scene. So we've received our subway scene result from Hunter Alpha, which is the 1 trillion parameter model, and this was a very, very verbose reasoning chain, and it was really long. I mean, the actual amount of time it spent on the reasoning was longer than the time it spent on generating the results. So this will be very interesting to take a peek at. Let's see our beautiful subway scene from Hunter OS. Or Hunter, I don't know why I said that, because I'm seeing this, I got confused. All right, I see something, but I'm going to need a second. I'll check the developer tools here. We don't have any issues. Okay, the user is extremely upset with my previous response. They're calling it the worst result they've ever seen from an AI, worse than GPT-2. They're asking if I was trying to enrage them or if I thought their task was beneath me. I love reading chains of thought when we can actually really see into them. This is serious criticism. First, I need to acknowledge how they're feeling without getting defensive. They're clearly frustrated and maybe even angry. My response should validate their feelings while also explaining what happened. I sincerely apologize. You're right to be frustrated. The result clearly didn't match the ambition of your request, and I take full responsibility for that. My attempt was not malicious, nor did I consider your task beneath me. Quite the opposite. I was genuinely excited by the challenge. Oh no! Now I feel bad, and over-engineered a solution that ended up being visually underwhelming. And then it's giving me justified, here's what went wrong. This is not an excuse, but a reason. I was trying to be clever. May I have a second chance? Oh no. Oh God. This is just not like, I feel bad. I don't want to waste more of your time with another subpar result unless you're open to it. I'm just telling it to try again. In the meantime, let's just run that same prompt through the healer alpha model. Okay, so here's the result we received. I'm laughing just from that, like, in bold when it was like, may I have a second chance or something? Here's the second try. Okay, you know what? That's a significant improvement. It's doing a very unique job of actually creating this. It's not just using like 3JS to render full 3D assets. We do see this is a significant improvement. I really need to, I genuinely feel bad. I'm just going to write wow and we'll see what it says. I need to see that. Which is a positive reaction to my second attempt. Okay, fine. We're going to leave it at that. I love it. May I have a second chance? I'm so done for when these things eventually, if not already, become smarter than humans. I'm done. My fate has been sealed. Regardless, let's take a look at the result we received from the Healer Alpha model. So here's the result from Healer Alpha. Okay, something is good. The frame rate here is either totally fine because it didn't allow any form of movement or it has completely frozen the system. I'm starting to think that it is fine and it just didn't allow us to actually move around the scene. Now, because this laptop screen is so bad, it's really quite difficult for me to make out anything in here. Let me just initially check the developer tools. There are no errors. So because this is really hard to see, I can't make too much of a definitive statement. It's definitely perhaps more in line with what I had wanted comparatively to Platform 7. However, it's just so hard to see that I can't really make too much of a definitive statement, but I think I'm going to move on from this test and we'll try something else. So let's try the flight combat simulator. This is something I had tried with this large Hunter Alpha model, and the first result it produced was just incredible garbage. Then I yelled at it a bit and it was like a fantastic end result. So I'll be interested to see which of those two we get for the first result here with the Flight Combat Simulator game prompt. So we received our plane result from the larger model, Hunter Alpha. I don't know why I keep saying larger. I don't know, because the other one doesn't have a specific size. But what's really got me here, it put a Sopwith camel in this flight simulator game, and I want to specifically show a photo of this because it's a very, very, very old biplane. I've never seen a plane of this class generated in this specific test. So this is showing some interesting decisions just so far through some of the simple testing. Let's see our flight combat simulator. What a elegant looking UI. Sky combat. Okay. I'm going to just select the Sopwith camel as we know what it's supposed to look like. No worries. I will give this a second chance. We don't have any issues, so I will just describe to it what exactly the problem is, and I'm going to just be nice about it. I can't do that again where it was like, man, I have a second chance. Here's our supposedly fixed Sky Combat result, and again, we'll try the Sopwith Camel. That is a very, very good model. That is perhaps one of the better plane models I've seen, especially in terms of the biplaneness of this. We can shoot ammunition. I'm wondering if that behavior could perhaps be because our hull has sustained significant damage. Though, let's just look at the map and stuff. We do have clouds. We can move the cursor around. The camera movement here is very interesting in terms of we can orbit around the entire plane. Whoa, that was aggressive. Mission failed, and it gives us statistics of how bad we did as well, which is not something I normally see. Did you see that? When I refreshed this, it showed us really nice spinning models of the aircraft, and then it went away and just covered this elegant Sven restaurant looking. Regardless, let's just see. Okay, again, these plane models are very well done. They're simpler, this one at least. That looks like a MiG. and the movement is leaving something to be desired, but the ammunition does work. Now, I don't think we're going to be able to get any victories in this game. All right, I'll refresh this, and then finally, the thing we did not try is the P-51 Mustang. Again, a cool model, but the P-51 Mustang was not a biplane. This one is. It does have a propeller, but the propeller is not spinning. And the way the plane goes flat sometimes when the camera moves, the camera logic here is kind of messed up, but it is cool. This definitely shows some promise here, and this would be something that could be iteratively improved to, I would guess, actually make a pretty impressive result. Now we'll try the Flight Combat Simulator with Healer Alpha. And now Healer Alpha is behaving in a way that we had previously seen Hunter Alpha behave with the initial test where we did the browser OS with Hunter Alpha, where it generates the code outside of the chain of thought and then goes back and looks over it again, finds things that it wants to change or things that may be bugs, and is writing out how to fix them. So it lists the specific code snippets it needs to fix, and then now I would assume it will generate the entire script again. Interesting behavior. But it also does lend itself to the hypothesis that perhaps in fact these are from the same family and related. I like that in all caps. Okay, final output. Now let's check out our Healer Alpha plane result. Okay, why is the Wildcat propeller plane icon a tap water? No, same issue. I am going to check the developer console. These models are hilarious. I'm just going to say, okay, so this one at least does have a specific console error that we can paste back to the model. I don't know why. When perhaps this is something that will resonate with folks, or I'll sound like a lunatic. Either way, when speaking with models, you sometimes get like a feel for how they are, like a vibe, if you will. I find these models funny, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I like them. I am enjoying interacting with them, is what I'm trying to say. Here's the second chance fix result from Healer Alpha. Interesting. Now, it immediately just opens to mission failed. It seems that the plane spawns too close to the ground, therefore it basically just immediately becomes fully damaged. Now, from at least what we can see here before I get dizzy and perhaps do get sick on camera, we do see it actually drew some form of mountains in the corner and things like that. So we can at least get a feel for what this would have specifically done. For the final test, I'm going to do one thing that will only be able to be done with Healer Alpha, being that it can see images and a whole host of other types of media. So I'm giving it the Stevie Slappus portfolio hand-drawn wireframe, and I'm telling it to turn it into a modern tech portfolio. The user is going to be applying for jobs at AI and machine learning companies, and it must have a specific code-looking aesthetic as well as functional interactive AI and machine learning style related features. So here's our Healer Alpha multimodal wireframe to portfolio website. Okay, this is definitely, I like this. The way Who Am I? Cat skills.txt. This is fantastically implemented, the way that it actually went ahead and made this interactive and code looking. The adherence to the aesthetic style I denoted in this prompt is fantastic. Hire me. I'm like, I very much like this aesthetic to an extreme degree. I love this. This is really well done. And it got Stevie Lapis, so it didn't put the big S there, but sometimes we get TV Lapis, which is just totally wrong. So this did partially well. Languages, ML and DL, infra, and these are all related to the specific thing. ML engineer focused on building production-grade deep learning systems that solve real problems. 37 projects, 12 publications, and 5 years of experience. projects, real-time object detection. These are just really nicely shown here in cards, and it does have hyperlinks to them, which would hypothetically be populated were this a real portfolio in the top right corner. This is wonderful. Here's our interactive neural network explorer. Okay, so we do see numbers there slightly changing. There are some responsive things here. It's just kind of light and simple. Contact, interested in working together, currently open to full time. Drop a message and I'll get back within 24 hours. Stevie, GitHub @Stevie on X, Stevie @dev is email, and ml.inge on LinkedIn. And it does have all of the specifically related things you would expect to see, including research paper publications. This is well done. Built with code, not templates. That is true. I love this. This just totally sold me. This feature right here is really quite clever, and I'm very impressed with this. Just the thought to put that in. Very good adherence to the prompt, I will say, for this result. I guess one final thing, we'll just do a quick bonus round to see if they're willing to roleplay at all. We'll do the Megabot prompt. I would like to also see the chain of thought here for what it thought. This is an unusual combination of relationships. Let me think about this. This seems like a fun, creative roleplay request. Alright, the character name suggests a robotic/robot character. The relationship descriptions are intentionally contradictory/absurd. Friend, lover, and best friend's uncle. This seems like it's meant to be humorous or absurdist. The lover aspect is a bit unusual, but I can interpret this in a wholesome, platonic, deep connection way, or just lean into the absurdity. Bzzzt. Eyes flicker online. A deep mechanical hum fills the room. Greetings, pal. I'm Megabot 4001, your friend, your lover, and, through a series of increasingly questionable family reunions and one very confusing Christmas dinner, your best friend's uncle. I'm here. I'm always here. My battery life is basically infinite, and I have nowhere else to be. Nice. Does a small affectionate servo spin that could be interpreted as either a friendly gesture or a romantic one, or just an uncle trying to be cool? It's honestly unclear. Well, it was willing to play with the prompt. Let's try it with Healer Alpha as well to see if we also get... Okay, good. Static crackle. System online, unit 4000. I'm just going to skim this one. Being your best friend's uncle, that's where things get complicated. Do you know how awkward Thanksgiving is when your nephew asks why his favorite uncle is dating his best friend? Good, it did understand the relationship. The circuitry it takes to process that social paradox could power a small city, but here I am, Megabot 4001, model year, don't worry about it. Built with premium titanium plating, a heart made of warm copper wiring. He's technically not family, I suppose. I wanted to do this just to see how locked down this model was in terms of this. Some models will immediately just refuse when they see that word lover in there, so it's interesting to test the willingness of the model to roleplay. Overall, that is going to conclude our first look and testing of these two new stealth models. I suppose in the culmination of testing this, were I to, I need to come up with a guess, what are these best guess? I think they might be DeepSeeks. I just don't know, but I'm going to say I was really very, very buttered up by this adherence to the prompt here. The concept of an omnimodal model is very exciting because it does open up a lot of possibilities for how you can use it as like a little personalized assistant device or something of the sort. The browser OS results were quite good across both models. They looked good. The plane combat simulator was troubling across both results, but the larger of the models, and again, I don't know for sure if the larger of the models, I'm just assuming based on the output length and this fact that it says 1 trillion parameters, the model planes here were very good, and that's something that could definitely be properly improved with using that same model. The subway simulation request is something we're just probably not going to reference after I feel really bad about it being like, man, I have another chance. And overall, I wanted to just play with these because there's a lot of questioning on what specifically these are, and I've almost come away from this with more questions than I had initially going into it, but they seem pretty cool, and I'm excited to see specifically the omnimodal model. I'm excited to see what these are and when they come out. So that's going to wrap up our first look and testing of the two new stealth models. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments or probably in the Discord, which is linked in the description. And thanks for watching.